Good day, everyone. In this video, we will be discussing about the part 2 of Unit 4, Office Productivity, Microsoft Excel. At the end of this video, we are expected to attain the following objectives. First, we are expected to study and practice the Microsoft Excel operators, formulas, and functions. And another objective is at least we are able to print our worksheet in the Microsoft Excel um, application program. So let's begin our discussion. Before going through how to use the Microsoft Excel operators, functions, and formulas, let us first discuss this what we call precedence of operators. Kapag sinabi nating precedence of operators, ito yung pagkasunod-sunod ng pag-evaluate ng Microsoft Excel sa mga operators na nandoon sa ating formula or sa ating function. Yan. Una, sa listahan na unang ini-evaluate ng Microsoft Excel ay yung parenthesis. So pag nakakita siya ng parenthesis sa ating formula, ito yung una niyang i-evaluate. Susunod na i-evaluate niya ay yung exponentiation. And then, yung arithmetic operators, multiplication and division. Kapag nakakita siya ng more than one na operators ng multiplication and or division, uunahin niyang i-evaluate yung pinakakaliwa hanggang sa pinakakanan na operator. Ganun din sa addition and subtraction. And also with the rest of operators like yung ating parentheses at saka exponentiation. Kung itong mga operators na ito ay more than one, ang occurrence niya doon sa buong formula, ang evaluation ng Microsoft Excel ay parating yung pinakakaliwa hanggang sa pinakakanan. And ang pinakahuli na ini-evaluate ay yung relational operators. Itong mga relational operators, ito yung equal, not equal, greater than, less than, yan, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. Ito yung pinakahuli na ini-evaluate ng ating Microsoft Excel. Okay? So, ayan. Let's continue with our slide. So in application to the precedence of operators, check natin itong ating example. For example, meron tayo sa ating formula. Yan na may 1,000 minus 500 times 2 is equal to, yan, ano kaya ito? So the answer of this formula, following how Microsoft Excel caters yung ating precedence of operator or operators, the answer would be 0. So bakit kaya 0? Yan. Kasi dito sa ating precedence of operators, tignan natin yung ating operators. We have 3 operators. We have this one. You can follow on my highlighter. And this is subtraction. And this is multiplication. And this is equal. So this is a relational operator. So yung pinaka-highest ang precedence sa mga operators na nandito ay yung multiplication. Susunod doon ay yung subtraction, and lastly yung relational operator natin na equal sign. So following that sequence of operators, the Excel would multiply first 500 by 2. So 500 times 2, that's 1,000. And then after that, it will subtract to 1,000. So 1,000 minus 1,000, that's 0. Okay, so 0 is the answer of this itong ating example natin na formula dito. Okay, so that's how Microsoft Excel evaluates yung mga formulas and functions na ilalagay natin later on sa ating mga cells doon sa Microsoft Excel na application program natin. Okay, so let's begin. So we have here basic formulas and the functions. Okay, so first we have what we call manual formulas. If you know exactly what you want to calculate, you can enter the formula directly into the cell or into the formula bar. So we could see, or if we try to remember on the screen elements of Microsoft Excel, on this part is what we call the formula bar. Yung parang meron siyang FX na ano doon, na symbol. Yan. And then, just to refresh ourselves also, itong F1 dito, ito naman yung ating cell address or yung name box. This is the active cell. Yan yung indicator ng ating active cell. Just like this one, F1. So the active cell is F1. So probably the formula was entered on F1, which is shown in here, and equals C1 minus D1. So that's how we input or we use manual formulas. We locate the cell address of the contents or the figures we wanted to calculate. And let us not forget that in all formulas must start with the equal sign. Kapag pinindot na natin dun sa cell yung equal sign, ibig sabihin na trigger na yung Microsoft Excel na we are entering a formula or a function. Okay, so you can type the cell names or click on the cells to include in your formula. So you can see on the image dito sa ating screen. After the formula is calculated, the cell will only display the result of the formula. The formula itself will display in the formula bar. Cells will show highlighted with different colors as they are added to the formula. That is for easier distinction. So let's have a example of how a manual formula is inputted in Microsoft Excel. And for example, we have here 200, and in here we have 150. So if we wanted to add these two values using a manual formula, we would just write here equal, and then you locate the cell address of the figures or the numbers you wanted to add. So let's say we wanted to add 200 and 150. We can say A1 plus A2. So we could just write equal A1. So you could see the cell A1 is highlighted for you to distinguish or determine that whatever the content of that cell will be considered in the formula. And then plus, we use the plus symbol A2. Okay, so it's there. And after your formula is complete, you can just press enter key. So you could say, yung value natin, hindi yung mismong formula. Yun yung result ng A1 plus A2. So that's it. And makikita natin yung formula dito sa ating formula bar. And another one also, let's say you wanted to, another way of inputting yung ating manual formula, you can just type the equal sign there. And then using your arrow keys, yung arrow up or arrow down, left or right, pwede mong i-point yung mga cells na gusto mong i-evaluate or i-add, for example. Yan, just like this one. Yan, A1, and then you press plus, and then arrow keys yan. I'm using arrow up, and then left, plus, ayan. Okay, and if your formula is complete, you can just press enter. Okay, so that's a manual formula. No matter what operators you're going to use, that's how you use, or that's how you apply manual formulas. Okay, let's continue with the next slide. Still on formulas, how to edit formulas. If you need to edit a formula that was previously entered, you have three options. First, you can click on the cell containing the formula and press F2 key on the function keys of your keyboard to enter into the editing mode. Another option is you can also just double click the cell to begin editing the formula. And third option, it may be easier to edit long formulas in the formula bar at the top of the worksheet. Okay, so let me do it. And for example, we have here, let's say, let's just transfer this one. Let's put some more values. Let's put some more values in here. And then let's say we are going to add all these figures. Let's use the manual formula. So we have there A3, A4, 5, okay, 6, and then 7. Ayan. So this is the result. Let's say, what if we wanted to edit the formula? Let's say, for example, I will not include A5 and A7. Yan, yung isang way natin doon, yung sa presentation natin kanina, you can just press F2. So if you press F2 here, let's say, for example, I press F2, yan, mag-turn into editing mode yung ating formula. Okay, so you just remove the cells, or you just edit the formula. And let's say I will remove A4, and then you could see na hindi na siya maha-highlight dito yung value ng A4. Okay, and then press enter. You could also edit formula on the formula bar here. Yan, you just edit the formula, do the editing that is expected na gagawin mo or you want to do, and then you just press enter. Or just simply double click in here. Okay, so yeah, just simply double click, edit the formula. Let's say you wanted to multiply this one, 5, A5 and A6. So yun, just do it and then press enter. And then the result will show. Depends on the formula na in-input ninyo. Okay, so that's editing a formula. Let's continue. Okay, so now we have functions in Microsoft Excel. So kung kanina, we do calculations using manual formulas, maybe your knowledge in algebra or your knowledge in calculation, ini-impart mo siya or nilalagay mo siya, pina-practice mo siya sa Microsoft Excel using yung manual way of doing yung calculation. To make your calculation more convenient, we have what we call functions. Because functions are formulas that have been predefined in Excel. They offer quick way to do certain common calculations. By using function, you don't need to manually input the formulas. You just call the function name and then consider the cells that is to be calculated or perform ng calculation based on the function used. And then, yun, mas madali na yung pag-compute mo. And for example, we have here the syntax or a sample of a function. And let us just not forget that if you input formulas, functions, or mag-perform ka ng calculation sa Microsoft Excel, it is always started with equal sign. and then the function name, and then the argument. Yung argument natin, ito yung i-evaluate niya ng mga cells na i-consider niya to perform yung function like sum. Yan, ito nakikita natin dito yung parang example natin noon, yung adjacent cell, di ba? And then yung range of cells, yung example natin before, colon ito. So ibig sabihin, it is a range of cell or cells. So if you try to evaluate this example, equals sum F6 to F11, ibig sabihin nito, lahat daw ng values magmula sa F6 hanggang sa F11 ay kukunin niya yung sum or i-add niya yung mga values na nandun sa range of cells na yon, itong F6 at saka hanggang F11. Okay, so that's the part of the function. Okay, for example, we have here still on the functions in Microsoft Excel. Function or functions can be entered into a cell in one of three ways. If you can manually type in the function parentheses and arguments. If you make mistake, Excel may give you a warning and suggestions to correct it. And another one, you can type the function into the cell. As you start typing, a list of functions that begin in the same letters will pop up. Clicking on the function in the list will show you a description of that function. So just like what we have here in our image. So as you type, let's say you type equals COU, all functions starts with COU will be displayed on the list. And then each function, as you highlight them or as you select them, it will display a tooltip that describes what that function is. For example, this one, count. Count that counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. So it describes what is the function all about. Okay, and then type in the cell reference, double click or this one, double click on the function you want to use. If you want to use count, you just double click it and it will automatically be included doon, or it will notify you that it has been used or you are using it, and then you just follow the syntax. Then type the cell references or click on the cell or range of cells you want to use in the formula. So just like this one. So in this case, let's say you double click count A. So it will start the function count A and then open parentheses, and then it will give you the syntax how to use the function. And for example, count A1 to D8. So it will count the values that is or are within the range of A1 to D8. Okay, so ayun. Let's see what we have in here. Let's perform an example of how to use function in our Microsoft Excel. Okay, so here, let's say instead of typing this formula, yung pag-add, you can do it using function. So equal sum. So you can see there, and sum adds all the numbers in the range. And you can double click it, and as you double click it, so ayan, pwede mo nang ilagay yung argument mo dyan. Yan. I-example ko lang, kapag sa argument mo ay yung mga certain or non-adjacent cells, pwede mo silang ilagay, i-separate mo lang ng comma. For example, ang i-add mo lang ay yung A1, A4 at A7. So pwedeng A1, comma, A4, comma, A7. So ang i-add lang niya ay yung mga non-adjacent cells na yan. So the value of A4, A1, A4, and A7. So ganon. But if you want to, let's say, get the sum of all the numbers within a range, for example, from A1 to A9, you could just type here A1 colon A9. And then do not forget to close the parenthesis and then enter. Or another way, yung ano natin kanina, procedure natin, you just type the function and then you can use the arrow keys. Yan, arrow keys, and then you highlight it down to the last cell and then close the parenthesis and then press enter. So, ayun. So, that's an example of how to use a function. And whatever function is that, it depends on the task that is assigned to you, depende sa calculation na gagawin mo. There are a lot of functions in Microsoft Excel that are useful to do our tasks in relation to spreadsheets. Okay, let's continue in here. Another one, okay, the third way to enter a function is through insert function. But this is rarely used because you can just type the function name that you wanted to use and then all functions will pop up and you just double click or you just type it. Rarely use itong insert function natin. But if you wanted to use that, you can just click on the function button on the besides the formula bar, yung parang FX, ganun niya. And if you do that, magpapakita na yung mga list of all functions that are available in Microsoft Excel, and then it will give you information like this one and the syntax and then the use of this function. Okay, so let's see on our Excel. So just like this one, yan, insert function button just below the formula bar, and then functions will be in here. Yan, it will give you ayan, yung ating syntax and then the description of the function. Okay, so ayan. You can just follow the dialog box. Yan. Okay, so ayan. Count A9 to C9. Parang bibilangin niya kung ilan yung mga may values from A9 to C9. Okay, so nabilang niya dyan 3. So ganon. If we delete this one, 2. So bibilangin niya. Very useful yung mga function na yan. Let's say bibilangin mo kung ilan ang pumasa. So yung mga ganon. Bibilangin mo kung alin lang yung may laman. So ayun, you can use the count na function. Moving on, we have here still on functions. An example of how to use the sum function. We performed it earlier. So I think we have to skip this slide. And also this one. Some other functions that you could use, or some techniques on how to use other functions in Microsoft Excel. So we have the SUMIF function. The SUMIF function will calculate the sum of a range based on the contents of that range or another range. Example from a budget worksheet. Let's say we have here to calculate the total amounts in the budget preparation column that are assigned to object code 142 regardless of fund and function. For example, you have that instruction in your worksheet. So you could just do equal SUMIF C2 to C4732, and then 142, and then comma G2 to G4732. So as you can see, with the object code 142 that's on the instruction, and regardless of and in the G2 or the budget preparation from G2 to G4732. Column C contains the object codes. Is this so? This is our range. The argument in the middle is our criteria. And this one, C2 to C4732, this is the range. 142 is the criteria. It's like hahanapin niya dito sa range na ito kung ano yung mga may values na 142. Yan. In this case, we are looking for the value 142 in column C. Where that value is found, the formula will add the values in column G. Okay, G is our sum range. If the range you are searching is the same as the range you want to sum, the sum range will be omitted. So parang ang gagawin niya, lahat ng mga may code na 142 dito sa range na ito ay i-add niya at ilalagay niya dito sa may G2 to G4732. Okay, so it's a conditional summation. Kaya siya tinawag na SUMIF. It will not actually calculate all the values that are within the range, but will only calculate the values within the range that meets the criteria. Yan, yung 142. Okay, so that's it. And some other functions also that are useful or we usually use sa ating day of work, especially sa inyo, later on magiging licensed teachers kayo. So very important itong mga function na to, yung count and count A. So for example, we have the first one, the count function. It simply counts the number of cells in the selected range that contain numbers. The count function will not count text or symbols. Okay, so that's count. However, we have here another example. Count A function counts the number of cells in the selected range that are not empty. This function will count text, numbers, and symbols. So you have to take note of that. If you use count, it will only consider numbers. Okay, and then count A, it will consider text, numbers, and symbols. For example, we have here count J1 to J6. So we have here J1 to J6. So this one. And then the value would be 3. Bakit 3? Kasi from cell J1 to J6, tatlong cells ang merong value na number. Yan. 1, 2, 3. Yan. For this cell, the value is 1. For this cell, the value is 2, which is number, and 3, which is also a number. That's why using count function will result to 3. It will disregard these 3 that are within the range because they are not numbers. If you use count A, it will consider text, numbers, and symbols. So it will return a value of 6. Hindi niya ito inad yung 3, 2, 1. Hindi. Binilang niya kung sa range ng J1 hanggang J6, ilan ang may laman. Be it text, number, or symbol. So sa lahat, within the range naman, lahat ng cells ay may number or may value, may content. So nag-result siya ng 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so that's count and count A. Let's continue. We also have mean and max. The mean and max function returns the smallest number in a set of values. We have mean C2 to C9, max function naman returns the largest value in a set of values. Logical values and text within the range will be ignored with both functions. Okay, so you have to remember that. So we have here, if we use mean for this cell range, for example, from C2 to C9, it will return or it will identify, parang ganon, ina-identify niya kung ano yung smallest number within the set of values or within the range. And then, dinidisplay niya kung saang cell nilagay yung formula. So in here, 500 is the smallest number, so it will return the number 500. And of course, max, it will return the highest or the largest value within the set of values. Example, pag later on may trabaho kayo, titignan mo, ano yung buwan magmula nung January at saka August ang pinaka-konti ang benta. O yan, you could use the minimum. Ano yung sa mga buwan na yan, ano yung may pinakamalaking benta? So yun, you could use max. Sa mga estudyante ko, ano ang pinakamataas na grade? O, pwede yun. Sa mga estudyante ko, ano yung may pinakamababa na grade? So yun, pwede nyo i-apply itong mean and max. Another example is the if function. Yan. The if function checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true, and another value is false. The syntax of this function is, and we are going to return or type the function if. Siyempre, may equal sign dapat yan. Logical test. The logical test, it's the condition that has to be met ng value, and then it will later on check if it's true or false. And then, comma, value if true, comma, value if false. Itong logical test natin dito, kapag nakita ng kapag ang condition ay met, itong value if true, ito yung kanyang iti-take na action. If the condition naman ay hindi na met or ibig sabihin false, ito naman sa block na ito ang kanyang i-return na value. Yan, for example, if D2 is greater than C2, kapag mas malaki daw yung D2 sa C2, display text increased. Yan. Value if false. Ang magiging value ng cell na yan, kapag true, I should say, increased. Pero kapag false naman, hindi mas malaki ang D2 sa C2, ito naman ang i-return niya na value dyan sa cell na yan. Okay, so example we have here, column C, column D, and then the column E. So probably we write the formula in here. So by analyzing, we could say that 10,000, let's see, D2, C2. D2 is 6,031.50 and C2 is 10,000. Check natin. Is D2 greater than C2? Mas malaki ba ang D2 sa C2 sa record na to? No, mas maliit siya. Kaya, ito yung kanyang value dahil false. Okay. And on the next record, 12,262 is greater than 500. Is this one is greater than this one? C, D and C. So the logical test is true. Kaya ang kanyang value dito ay increase. Okay, so ganyan. Napaka-applicable nito kapag later on sa mga estudyante ninyo, gusto kaysa i-type mo isa-isa kung pass, failed, INC, o yun, pwede ka nang gumamit ng if function. For example, if grade is greater than or equal to 75, passed. Otherwise, failed. So, ganun. Let me demonstrate to you in here. For example, we have here grade and then remark. Ayan. So let's say yung grade niya dito ay 75, 70, 90, sorry, let's say 90, 73. Yan. So using the if, sabi doon, if, and then the logical test. So what are you going to test? You test the grade if it's greater than or equal to 75, value if true, passed. Yan. Value if false, of course, failed. The negative connotation ng past. Okay, so do not forget na yung ano natin, yung quotation kapag text yung i-display. Okay, so you just enter it. Yan, so nakita ninyo past. Kasi true na ang grade niya ay 7 greater than or equal to 75. To copy yung formula, you could just click and drag in here. Yan. So makikita ninyo, 70 failed, 90 passed, 73 failed. Okay, so ganon. Ganon yung ano natin. That's how to do it. Yung if function. You could also copy-paste yung ating formula by just double-clicking on this handle. Kapag naging plus sign yung ating mouse pointer dyan, you could just double-click on it. It will copy the formula up to the last record found. Yan, ito yung mga record natin, kakopy na niya easily yung formula. Okay, so that's the if function. Moving on. We have here the average and round function. So these functions, napaka-essential dito. Pinili ko lang itong mga functions na may be useful later on kapag kayo ay magtatrabaho na or in your other jobs na pwede ninyong i-apply. Yan. We have the average. The average function returns the average arithmetic mean sa ating statistics, di ba? It's the mean of its arguments. For example, equal average A2 to A9, it will just return the arithmetic mean of values within the range A2 to A9. The round function rounds a number to specified number of digits. For example, equal round A2 comma -3 or yan. And then this example rounds the number to the next 1,000. An example we have here, or we have an example here. Yan, ito, yung average natin. It will just compute the average of these numbers. I-add niya and then i-multiply niya sa number of values na meron doon. Yan, it gets the mean. Okay, yung round naman, yan, yung 2, 7, yan. As you could see, ganyan yung kanyang value. Kapag i-round natin siya into next 1,000, yan, comma 300 naman to, anong susunod sa 1,000? 10,000, ayun. Sa mga mathematics ang major. Okay, so yan. 27,784. If you round it, magiging 28. Yan, magiging 29, 15, 10, 0. Yan, 2,190, 2,000. 2,000, 1,464, 1,000. 13,600, 14,000. So nagra-round siya. Okay? Nagra-round off siya ng numbers. Let's place our video. Okay, so let's continue. Yan. Some common errors in Excel formulas. So, there are errors na pwede natin na ma-encounter pag gumagamit tayo ng Microsoft Excel. Be it formula or kung ano man, pag nag-input tayo ng formula, nagpapakita itong mga errors na ito usually. So, ano yung ibig sabihin ng mga errors na to? If you see, like this one, yung mga pound or mga hashtags na text doon sa cell, column is too narrow. Hindi niya kayang i-display lahat yung content doon sa column width. Okay, yung laki ng column. Yan. How to solve it? Palakihin mo lang yung column or paliitin mo yung value or yung font size ng text. Ganon. And if you see error just like this one, div 0, yan. Formula divides number by 0. Black cells have a value of 0. Yon. So, it's a common knowledge that you cannot divide by 0. So, kung nakita nung Excel na ganon and you are using maybe a division operator, so it will return a value, error na value na ito. And then a name, we also have our name or hashtag name, question mark. Formula contains a function name or cell that Excel does not recognize. Kunwari mag-a-add ka, yung isa, ang value ay 1, yung isa ay B, ganon. So hindi niya ma-recognize. Okay, so ayun. And then ref, yan, ref exclamation. Formula refers to a cell that is not valid. Okay, so hindi valid yung reference. And hashtag value. Formula refers to a cell that Excel cannot use in calculation. So ganon. Usually kapag hindi ma-recognize, yan, meron name. Kapag hindi naman magamit for calculation, ay value. So ganon. Kunwari comparison, tapos text naman yung laman. So pwedeng mag-return ng value or relational operator. Gamit ka ng greater than, less than, yung isa number, yung isa text. So you cannot use it. Pag hindi naman ma-recognize yung pwede kapag arithmetic operators naman yung gagamitin mo and then yung place text, hindi niya ma-recognize. Or maybe gamit ka ng mga symbols, may mga symbols doon na nai-input ka parang mistakenly na or parang clerical error, so it could return an error na name at saka yung value. Kapag nakita nyo itong mga error na to, at least alam nyo kung ano tong error na ito at by knowing it, alam mo kung paano siya i-resolve. Circular reference, formula refers to the cell containing the formula. Let's say maglagay ka ng formula tapos sa cell na nilagay mo yung formula ay hinalo mo din yung ano doon, yung hinalo mo o nilagay mo, in-include mo sa formula kung saan mo ini-encode yung cell reference din niya. So nagkakaroon ng circular reference yung pag-read ng Microsoft Excel sa formula mo. So you just check yung mga cell names, cell addresses na in-include mo sa mo doon sa may formula mo kapag na-encounter mo yung problem na yan. Okay? So let us give yung na lang siguro some example. Yan, just like this one, past. Kunwari, masyadong yan. Diba? So nakita ninyo siya, ganyan yung lumalabas na value. So ang gawin lang, palakihin lang yung size. Okay? So, ayun. Try natin maglagay dito ng N. So yun, tingnan nyo. Value, hindi niya, ibig sabihin, merong hindi acceptable na value doon sa ating cell range kung saan naka-include yung formula. Yan. And then, let's say, yung division by 0 naman, lagay natin 0. Ayan. cannot divide by 0. Okay, so ganun lang naman kapag naano natin yung mga error na yun. At least hindi tayo alam natin kung ano yung error na yan at by knowing it, pwede na natin siyang ma-resolve. Okay, so ayun. I think we're on the last part ng ating discussion. It's printing your worksheet. Using print preview. Yan, printing part of a worksheet and then page setup. Yan. We could use or we could do printing by using the print preview. Ayan, dito sa ating Microsoft Excel, meron tayong mga previews, page views dito. Yan. Ito, kapag ito yung nasa view natin, normal view para siyang malaking worksheet. Meron din tayong page layout view na nakikita natin per page. Yan. Meron din tayong page break view. So, kung ano yung cell na merong content, usually yun lang yung kino-consider niya at pwede mong ma-manage yung paging niya dyan. And for example, normal view tayo kasi kukunti yung laman ng ano natin. Yan. Pag magpiprint tayo, napakadali lang. Just go to File and then Print. Yan. Pag magpiprint tayo dyan, nandito na yung preview ng ating page. This is how the worksheet will look like or yung spreadsheet natin will look like kapag ipiprint natin siya sa Microsoft Excel. You can select pages lang kung ano yung ipiprint. For example, from page 1 to page 2 lang or page 2 to page 5. And pwede rin yung kanyang orientation, portrait or landscape, yung paper size, kung long, short, A4 yung gagamitin. Margins, you could also do some edit. You could choose yung margins kung custom, ibig sabihin ikaw mismo yung magsiset. Normal margin, usually this is a 1 inch on all sides, yung left, right, top, and bottom. And wide margin naman, and narrow, usually half inch on all sides. Yan, top, bottom, left, and right. You can choose your printer in here. Yung offline na nakalagay dyan, ibig sabihin the printer is not ready. You just check on the cable if it was properly placed on the printer and on your laptop or computer, and then you check if it's plugged into the power source, and you just check if the printer is turned on. Okay, so kapag turned on yung printer, nakasaksak. So mag-notify dyan ng ready. Okay, so ganun lang naman yun. For example, I will plug in here yung aking cable ng printer. So kita nyo dyan yung printer na installed sa aking laptop ay offline. But if I will plug in my printer, okay, so you could see here, yan, print, yan, ready. Yan, ready na siya at pwede na siyang mag-print. Okay, so yan, for example, let us perform how to print. Yan, so ganyan. Meron din tayong dito sa may quick access toolbar natin if you are using itong gamit ko kasi na Microsoft Excel, it's 2021 Pro Plus and I'm using a Office 365 account. And if you want to have an optimal performance or experience in using Microsoft Office productivity tools like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, you can buy an Office 365 account. Okay, so ganun. And we have here, using this button, print and preview. Yan, so you just select the printer that is active, and then let's say that's the setup of our page na ganyan. So you just click print, and then it will maybe display some dialog boxes na informing you that the printing is on process. And in just a few while or in just a few minutes, depends on the content of your worksheet, syempre mapiprint na yung ating mapiprint na yung ating spreadsheet. There may be some errors na pwede mong ma-encounter just like this one. Yan, paper out or incorrect loading, paper loading. Yan. So wala kasing papel. So I will just put the paper here. I hope you could, medyo hindi maganda yung location ng printer so I could not show it to you, but yan. Anyway, okay, so it's printing now. Okay, so yan, naririnig niyo siguro yung sound effect ng printer. So there you have it. Nandiyan na yung ating file. Okay, so yan. So yun, so that's how to print your worksheet. Okay, so let's see what we have. Yan, page setup, we discuss, ayan, margins, header and footer. You could also format yung ating header and footer. And you can just click here, view, and then the header and our page layout. Yan, you could add some headers here and then pwede ring footer doon sa may baba. Okay, doon sa baba. Yan. Let's say yung date, yung page number, yan, pwede nyo ilagay dyan sa header and footer natin. Okay, you could do the page layout or just simply switch into page layout view. Makikita mo na yung header and footer. Pag ganyan kasi, naka-normal siya, wala siyang header and footer na nakikita. If i-turn natin into page layout view, so pwede ka nang maglagay ng header and footer dyan. Okay, so ayun. And let's see what we still have on the presentation. So I think it's the last topic. Okay, so ayun, so that ends our part 2 ng ating video lecture on Microsoft Excel. I will be posting more videos that na kailangan pa nating i-discuss sa ating subject. Just be notified in our teleeducation learning management system and in our communication channels like in the Messenger for some updates. Okay, so thank you everyone, guys. Keep safe and have a good day.